Marcus Aurelius once said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." At first glance, it might sound like a paradox. How can obstacles actually help us move forward? But this idea is at the heart of Stoic philosophy, a timeless framework that teaches us to see setbacks not as roadblocks, but as opportunities for growth. Think about the last time life threw you a curveball. Did you feel stuck, frustrated, or even defeated? What if, instead of resisting those moments, you could approach them with a mindset that transforms adversity into fuel for progress? Today, we're diving into the Stoic principles of resilience, cognitive reframing, and the art of turning obstacles into stepping stones. By the end of this video, you'll have practical tools to apply these ancient ideas to modern challenges, helping you navigate life's tough moments with courage and clarity. So let's explore how setbacks can become your greatest teachers and how Stoic bravery might just change the way you face the world. What if every setback was a chance to prove your strength? That's exactly how the Stoics viewed adversity, not as something to fear or avoid, but as an opportunity to test and build character. To them, life's challenges weren't random punishments or unlucky breaks. They were simply part of the natural flow of existence. Think about it. No one goes through life without facing some kind of hardship. The Stoics believed these moments weren't failures, but invitations to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. At the core of this philosophy is the idea that external events are indifferent. They are neither good nor bad in themselves. It's our response to these events that defines their impact. The ancient Stoic teacher Epictetus put it this way: "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In other words, while we can't always control what happens to us, we can control how we choose to respond. This shift in perspective is where true power lies. Take Seneca, for example. When he was exiled to Corsica by the Roman Emperor Claudius, he didn't wallow in despair or let his circumstances defeat him. Instead, he used that time to write some of his most profound works, turning what could have been a devastating setback into a period of immense creativity and productivity. His exile became a testament to his ability to focus on what he could control, his mindset and his actions, rather than what he couldn't. Now, think about your own life. Can you recall a recent setback or challenge? Maybe it was a missed opportunity, a difficult conversation, or a project that didn't go as planned. How did you react? Did you feel overwhelmed, or did you find a way to adapt and move forward? The Stoics would encourage you to see that moment not as a failure, but as a test, a chance to practice patience, courage, and wisdom. By reframing your perspective, you can begin to see adversity not as something to fear, but as a tool for growth. Stoicism teaches us to focus our energy where it truly matters, on the things we can control. This simple yet profound idea lies at the heart of the Stoic principle known as the Dichotomy of Control. In essence, it's about recognizing the difference between what's within our power and what isn't. By understanding this distinction, we can reduce unnecessary anxiety and channel our efforts into areas where we can actually make a difference. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most famous Stoics, put it this way: "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. These words remind us that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can control how we interpret and respond to those events. This shift in focus is incredibly liberating. Instead of wasting energy on things we can't change, we're free to invest our time and effort into actions that truly matter. Imagine this scenario: you've just lost your job. It's a tough situation, and it's natural to feel a mix of emotions: frustration, fear, maybe even anger. But here's where the dichotomy of control comes into play. While you can't change the fact that you've been let go, you can control how you respond. You can update your resume, reach out to your network, or even take a course to sharpen your skills. These are actionable steps that move you forward, even in the face of uncertainty. Now, take a moment to think about your own life. What's a challenge you're currently facing? What aspects of that situation are within your control and which ones aren't? Try writing them down. By clearly identifying what you can and can't influence, you'll gain a sense of clarity and direction. This exercise isn't about ignoring the difficulties, it's about empowering yourself to focus on what you can do, rather than feeling paralyzed by what you can't. The beauty of this principle is that it doesn't just apply to major life events. It's just as relevant in everyday situations, whether you're stuck in traffic, dealing with a difficult conversation, or facing a project that feels overwhelming. By consistently practicing the dichotomy of control, you'll find that you're better equipped to handle life's ups and downs with calm and resilience. This Stoic mindset isn't about pretending that challenges don't exist. It's about meeting them head-on with a clear understanding of where your power lies. When you focus on what you can control, you're no longer at the mercy of external circumstances. Instead, you become the architect of your own response, and that's where true freedom begins. Every obstacle is a chance to become stronger. That's not just a motivational slogan, it's a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believed that setbacks aren't random punishments or unfortunate accidents. They're opportunities to grow, to learn, and to reveal our true strength. This mindset, known as cognitive reframing, is about shifting how we see challenges not as things that happen to us, but as things that happen for us. Seneca once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." What he's saying is that hardships aren't just obstacles, they're teachers. They test us, push us, and ultimately shape us into stronger, more resilient versions of ourselves. Think about it, when everything goes smoothly, we rarely have the chance to discover what we're truly capable of. It's in the face of adversity that our character is revealed. Take the story of an athlete who suffers a serious injury. At first, it might seem like a devastating setback. Their career is put on hold, their goals feel out of reach. But instead of seeing the injury as the end, they choose to see it as an opportunity. They use the downtime to focus on mental training, studying their sport, and building a mindset of resilience. By the time they recover, they're not just physically stronger, they're mentally tougher, more focused, and better equipped to handle future challenges. This is the power of cognitive reframing. It's not about denying the difficulty of a situation or pretending everything is fine. It's about choosing to see the potential for growth even in the midst of struggle. The Stoics understood that life is unpredictable and setbacks are inevitable, but they also knew that how we interpret those setbacks makes all the difference. So, what's a challenge you're facing right now? Maybe it's a personal struggle, a professional setback, or even a relationship issue. Take a moment to reframe it. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger?" By shifting your perspective, you're not just coping with the challenge, you're transforming it into a stepping stone for growth. This practice isn't about ignoring pain or pretending everything is perfect. It's about finding meaning in the struggle and using it to propel yourself forward. When you start to see obstacles as opportunities, you'll find that even the toughest moments can become some of the most transformative. What does it mean to truly bounce back from failure? The Stoics would argue it's not just about getting back up, it's about how you rise. Resilience, in their view, isn't something you're born with. It's a skill you cultivate through practice, mindset, and a deep understanding of acceptance. The idea isn't to avoid hardship, but to face it head-on, knowing that each challenge is an opportunity to strengthen your resolve. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, put it this way: bear and forbear. These simple words carry profound meaning. To bear is to endure hardships with grace, and to forbear is to resist the urge to react impulsively or emotionally. This dual approach is the foundation of Stoic resilience. It's not about suppressing your feelings or pretending everything is fine. It's about choosing to respond with clarity and purpose, even when the situation feels overwhelming. Consider the story of Cato the Younger, a Roman statesman and Stoic philosopher. When his political efforts to preserve the Roman Republic failed, he didn't retreat into despair or anger. Instead, he chose to accept the outcome with dignity, even as it led to his own defeat and eventual death. Cato's resilience wasn't about winning or losing. It was about standing firm in his principles, no matter the cost. His unwavering commitment to his values, even in the face of failure, remains a powerful example of Stoic resilience in action. But resilience isn't just for historical figures or grand moments of adversity. It's a skill we can practice in our everyday lives. Think about the last time you faced a setback, whether it was a small mistake at work, a personal disappointment, or a goal that didn't go as planned. How did you handle it? Did you feel defeated, or did you find a way to adapt and move forward? The Stoics would encourage you to see these moments as opportunities to practice resilience, not as reasons to give up. So, how can you start building this skill today? One simple way is to identify one area in your life where you tend to feel stuck or defeated. Maybe it's a difficult relationship, a project that's not going as planned, or a habit you're struggling to change. Instead of focusing on the frustration, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I approach this situation with patience and determination? By shifting your mindset, even in small ways, you're already taking the first step toward greater resilience. Resilience, at its core, is about embracing life's challenges as part of the journey. It's not about avoiding failure or hardship, but about learning to move through them with strength and grace. And the more you practice this mindset, the more you'll find that setbacks don't define you, they refine you. Nothing lasts forever, not even our struggles. This simple truth is at the heart of Stoic thinking about impermanence, a concept that reminds us that everything, good or bad, is temporary. The Stoics believed that by embracing this idea, we can find peace in the midst of chaos and strength in the face of adversity. Life is constantly changing, and what feels overwhelming today might be a distant memory tomorrow. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on this idea, writing, "All things are fleeting, and soon you will be gone, and the things you see now will no longer exist." His words weren't meant to be morbid. They were a reminder to focus on what truly matters and to let go of what we can't control. When we accept that nothing is permanent, we stop clinging so tightly to outcomes, fears, or even successes. This detachment doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we stop letting temporary circumstances define us. Think about a storm. No matter how fierce the wind or how heavy the rain, it always passes. The Stoics would say the same is true for our challenges. A difficult project at work, a strained relationship, or a personal setback, these are all storms in our lives. They may feel all-consuming in the moment, but they too will pass. By adopting this mindset, we can endure hardship with greater patience and perspective, knowing that it's just one chapter in a much larger story. So take a moment to reflect on a challenge you're facing right now. How might this situation look a year from now? Will it still feel as significant, or will it have faded into the background? The Stoics would encourage you to see your struggles not as permanent fixtures but as passing events. This shift in perspective doesn't make the hardship disappear, but it can make it easier to bear. Embracing impermanence isn't about denying the reality of your struggles. It's about seeing them in their proper context. When we recognize that even the toughest moments are temporary, we free ourselves from the weight of despair. Instead of being consumed by what's happening now, we can focus on what we can learn, how we can grow, and how we can move forward. After all, the storm will pass and the sun will shine again. How often do we let past failures or future fears control us? It's easy to get caught up in what went wrong yesterday or what might go wrong tomorrow, but the Stoics had a different approach. They believed that true peace and resilience come from staying firmly rooted in the present moment. When we focus on the here and now, we strip away the layers of regret and anxiety that often cloud our judgment, giving ourselves the clarity to face challenges head-on. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher known for his practical wisdom, said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." This simple yet profound statement reminds us that much of our pain comes from worrying about things that haven't happened, or replaying things that already have. By bringing our attention back to the present, we can break free from these mental traps and approach life with a clearer, calmer mind. Take the story of Sarah, a young professional who struggled with anxiety about her career. She often found herself replaying past mistakes, a failed project, a missed promotion, and worrying endlessly about what might happen next. Overwhelmed, she decided to try a simple mindfulness practice, focusing on her breath for just a few minutes each day. At first, it felt strange, even uncomfortable, but over time, she noticed something remarkable. The more she practiced staying present, the less power her anxieties held over her. She began to see that the past was over and the future wasn't something she could control. All she had was the moment in front of her, and that was enough. This is the power of presence. It's not about ignoring the past or the future entirely. It's about recognizing that the only moment we truly have is the one we're in right now. When we anchor ourselves in the present, we're better equipped to handle whatever comes our way. So, how can you start practicing this today? Try this simple exercise. Set aside 5 minutes to focus solely on the present. Notice the sensations around you, the sound of your breathing, the feel of the air on your skin, the sights and sounds of your environment. If your mind starts to wander, gently bring it back to the moment. It's not about perfection, it's about practice. Over time, you'll find that staying present becomes a natural way to navigate life's ups and downs with greater ease and resilience. The Stoics knew that the present moment is where life happens. It's where we make choices, take action, and find peace. By embracing this mindset, you'll discover that setbacks lose their sting and challenges become opportunities to grow, right here, right now. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action despite it. This is the Stoic understanding of bravery, not a lack of worry or doubt, but the willingness to move forward even when those feelings are present. For the Stoics, courage wasn't just a trait reserved for heroes or extraordinary circumstances. It was a virtue to be cultivated in everyday life. It's about showing up even when everything in you wants to turn away. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most influential voices, wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." He wasn't talking about surviving life-threatening situations. He was speaking to the quiet, often unseen bravery it takes to face life's daily challenges. Whether it's a difficult conversation, a career setback, or a personal struggle, courage is what allows us to meet those moments head-on without letting fear dictate our actions. Consider the story of a modern entrepreneur who faced repeated rejections while building their business. At first, each no felt like a personal failure, a reason to give up. But instead of letting fear take over, they chose to see each rejection as feedback, a stepping stone rather than a roadblock. They persisted, refined their approach, and eventually turned those setbacks into a thriving company. This kind of courage isn't about being fearless, it's about refusing to let fear stop you. So, what does this mean for you? Think about a fear that's been holding you back. Maybe it's a conversation you've been avoiding, a goal you've been too nervous to pursue, or a habit you're afraid to change. What would it look like to take one small step forward, even if you're unsure of the outcome? The Stoics would remind you that courage isn't about eliminating fear, It's about choosing to act in spite of it. This week, challenge yourself to confront one fear. It doesn't have to be a monumental act. It could be as simple as sending that email, making that call, or starting that project. What matters is the willingness to move forward, even when it feels uncomfortable. Because every time you choose courage, you're not just overcoming a fear, you're building a habit of resilience that will serve you for the rest of your life. What if we saw every challenge as a gift? It might sound counterintuitive, but gratitude is one of the most powerful tools in the Stoic toolkit. The Stoics believed that even in the midst of hardship, there's always something to be thankful for, a lesson, an opportunity, or even just the strength to endure. Gratitude isn't about ignoring the difficulty of a situation. It's about shifting your focus from what's lacking to what's already present. This subtle change in perspective can transform how you experience setbacks, turning them into moments of growth and clarity. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." These words remind us that even on our toughest days, there's value to be found. Gratitude helps us see that value not as a way to sugarcoat reality, but as a way to deepen our appreciation for life itself. It's about recognizing that every experience, no matter how difficult, has something to teach us. Take the story of Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. In the unimaginable horrors of the concentration camps, Frankl found moments of gratitude, small, fleeting, but profoundly meaningful. He was grateful for the kindness of a fellow prisoner, for the beauty of a sunrise, or even for the strength to endure another day. These moments didn't erase his suffering, but they gave him a sense of purpose and resilience. Frankl's ability to find gratitude in the darkest of places is a testament to the power of this practice. So, how can you start cultivating gratitude in your own life? One simple way is to take a few minutes each day to write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be grand or life-changing. It could be as simple as a warm cup of coffee, a kind word from a friend, or the feeling of the sun on your face. The act of writing them down helps you pause and reflect, shifting your focus from what's going wrong to what's going right. Gratitude isn't just a feel-good exercise, it's a mindset that builds resilience over time. When you practice seeing the good in every situation, you're better equipped to handle life's challenges with grace and perspective. So, what's one thing you're grateful for today? Take a moment to acknowledge it, and you might just find that even the smallest blessings can light up the darkest moments. Stoicism teaches us to let go of what we cannot control. This idea, often referred to as the art of detachment, is one of the most liberating principles in Stoic philosophy. It's not about giving up or being indifferent. It's about focusing our energy on what truly matters, our effort, our actions, and our mindset. When we detach from outcomes, we free ourselves from unnecessary frustration and find a deeper sense of peace. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, put it beautifully: freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. What he's saying is that true freedom comes from releasing our grip on outcomes and focusing instead on what we can influence. This shift in perspective doesn't mean we stop caring about results. It means we stop letting them define our worth or dictate our happiness. Imagine a professional athlete stepping onto the field. They've trained hard, studied their opponents, and prepared as best they can. But once the game begins, they have no control over the final score. What they can control is how they play, their focus, their strategy, their effort. By detaching from the outcome, they're able to give their best performance without being weighed down by the pressure to win. Win or lose, they walk away knowing they played their part fully and with integrity. This mindset isn't just for athletes, it's for anyone facing a challenge, whether it's a big presentation at work, a creative project, or even a personal goal. When we focus on the effort we put in rather than the outcome we hope for, we reduce the anxiety that often comes with uncertainty. We're able to act with clarity and confidence, knowing that we've done our part regardless of how things turn out. So take a moment to reflect on your own life. Is there an outcome you're overly attached to? Maybe it's a promotion you're hoping for, a relationship you're trying to fix, or a project you want to succeed. How might it feel to focus less on the result and more on the effort you're putting in? What would it look like to detach from the outcome and trust that your effort is enough? The art of detachment isn't about giving up, it's about reclaiming your power. When you let go of what you can't control, you make room for peace, resilience, and a deeper appreciation for the journey itself. And in that space, you'll find a kind of freedom that no outcome can ever take away. What separates those who overcome setbacks from those who don't? Often, the answer lies in self-discipline. While talent, luck, and opportunity play their roles, it's the consistent, disciplined effort that turns challenges into triumphs. The Stoics understood this deeply. They saw self-discipline not as a restriction, but as a pathway to freedom. It's the tool that allows us to stay focused, even when distractions and difficulties threaten to pull us off course. Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled an empire, knew the importance of self-mastery. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." These words remind us that discipline starts within. It's about taking control of our thoughts, our actions, and our habits, so we're not swayed by every obstacle or setback that comes our way. When we cultivate discipline, we build a foundation of resilience that can withstand even the toughest storms. Think about the story of James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. Early in his career, he faced a life-altering injury that sidelined his dreams of playing baseball. Instead of giving up, he turned his focus to the small, disciplined habits that could help him rebuild his life. He started writing daily, even if it was just a few sentences. Over time, those small, consistent efforts compounded into a book that has helped millions transform their lives. His story is a testament to how discipline can turn setbacks into stepping stones for success. So, what's one habit you can strengthen to build your own discipline? Maybe it's waking up a little earlier to focus on your goals, committing to a daily practice that aligns with your values, or simply taking a few minutes each day to reflect and plan. The key isn't to overhaul your life overnight, it's to start small and stay consistent. As the Stoics would say, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. Discipline isn't just about achieving external success, it's about building an inner strength that helps you navigate life's ups and downs with grace. When you commit to self-mastery, you're not just preparing for the challenges ahead. You're creating a life of purpose and resilience, one disciplined step at a time. No one succeeds alone. This simple truth echoes through the teachings of Stoicism, a philosophy often associated with individual resilience and self-mastery. But while the Stoics emphasized personal responsibility, they also recognized the profound value of community. In fact, they believed that support from others was not just helpful, it was essential in navigating life's challenges. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most eloquent voices, wrote, "Friendship improves happiness and abates misery by doubling our joy and dividing our grief." His words remind us that we don't have to face adversity in isolation. Whether it's a trusted friend, a mentor, or a supportive group, the people around us can provide strength, perspective, and encouragement when we need it most. Think about the story of the Apollo 13 mission. When an oxygen tank exploded mid-flight, the astronauts faced a life-threatening crisis, but they didn't face it alone. Back on Earth, a team of engineers, scientists, and fellow astronauts worked tirelessly to bring them home safely. Together, they turned what could have been a tragic failure into one of NASA's most celebrated successes. This is the power of community, the collective effort of individuals united by a common purpose. But community isn't just for grand life or death moments. It's just as vital in our everyday lives. When you're dealing with a personal setback, a professional challenge, or even a moment of self-doubt, reaching out to someone you trust can make all the difference. They might offer a fresh perspective, a listening ear, or simply the reassurance that you're not alone. So take a moment to reflect. Who in your life could be your Seneca, your sounding board, or your safe harbor? Is there someone you could reach out to today? A friend, a family member, or even a colleague? And if you're feeling strong right now, consider how you might extend that same support to someone else. Because in the end, resilience isn't just about standing tall on your own. It's about leaning on others when you need to and being there for them in return. The Stoics remind us that while we can't control everything life throws at us, we can choose who we surround ourselves with. And in those connections, we find not just strength, but the courage to keep moving forward, no matter the obstacle. What can we learn from our failures? For the Stoics, this question wasn't just a philosophical musing, it was a practical tool for growth. Reflection, they believed, is where the real magic happens. It's the process of looking back at our experiences, not to dwell on what went wrong, but to uncover the lessons hidden within. When we take the time to reflect, setbacks stop being mere disappointments and become stepping stones to wisdom. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, put it this way: no man is free who is not master of himself. What he meant is that true freedom comes from understanding ourselves, our actions, our reactions, and the choices we make in the face of adversity. Reflection is how we gain that understanding. It's the act of pausing, stepping back, and asking ourselves, what happened? Why did it happen? And most importantly, what can I learn from it? Take the story of a young entrepreneur who launched a startup that failed within its first year. At first, they were devastated, but instead of letting the failure define them, they decided to reflect on the experience. They asked themselves tough questions. What went wrong? What could I have done differently? What strengths did I discover in the process? Through this self-examination, they realized that while the business didn't succeed, they had gained invaluable skills in leadership, problem-solving, and resilience. That reflection didn't just help them heal, it prepared them for their next venture, which turned out to be a success. So, how can you start practicing reflection in your own life? One powerful way is through journaling. Take a few minutes to write about a recent setback or challenge. What happened? How did you respond? And what lessons can you take away from the experience? The act of writing helps you process your thoughts and emotions, turning them into actionable insights. Reflection isn't about dwelling on the past, it's about using the past to inform the future. When we take the time to examine our experiences, we gain clarity, perspective, and a deeper understanding of ourselves. And that understanding is what allows us to move forward with greater confidence and resilience. So grab a notebook, ask yourself those tough questions, and see what lessons your setbacks have to offer. You might just find that the answers are the key to your next triumph. Great things take time, even in the face of adversity. This is a truth the Stoics held close, seeing patience not as passive waiting, but as an active form of endurance. In a world that often rewards speed and instant results, patience can feel like an outdated virtue. But Stoicism teaches us that it's one of the most powerful tools we have for navigating setbacks and building lasting resilience. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, once wrote, "You are not disturbed by things, but by the opinion you have of them." This idea is at the heart of patience. It's about shifting our perspective, seeing delays, obstacles, and slow progress not as frustrations, but as opportunities to practice steadiness and self-control. When we embrace patience, we stop fighting against the natural flow of life and start working with it. Think about a gardener planting a seed. They prepare the soil, water it, and wait sometimes for weeks or even months before they see the first green shoot break through. The gardener doesn't dig up the seed every day to check if it's growing. They trust the process, knowing that growth happens beneath the surface, invisible at first but inevitable with time and care. This is what patience looks like in action, a quiet confidence that even when we can't see immediate results, our efforts are not in vain. Now consider your own life. What's an area where you're struggling to see progress? Maybe it's a long-term goal, a challenging relationship, or a personal habit you're trying to change. How might it feel to approach that situation with the mindset of a gardener, trusting that growth is happening, even when it's not yet visible? The Stoics remind us that patience isn't about giving up or settling for less. It's about understanding that some things simply cannot be rushed. When we accept this, we free ourselves from the frustration of trying to control the uncontrollable. Instead, we focus on what we can do, showing up consistently, staying committed, and trusting that our efforts will bear fruit in time. So, where in your life could you practice more patience? Is there a goal, a relationship, or a personal challenge that's testing your ability to wait? Take a moment to reflect on how patience might change your approach to that situation. Because sometimes the greatest act of courage isn't pushing forward, it's standing still, trusting the process, and knowing that even the slowest progress is still progress. How big is this problem in the context of your entire life? It's a question that might seem simple, but its power lies in its ability to shift how we see our struggles. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that perspective is one of the most transformative tools we have for navigating setbacks. When we zoom out and see our challenges in the grand scheme of things, they often shrink in significance, losing much of their weight and intensity. Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher, put it this way: we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. What he's saying is that many of our worries are magnified by our own minds. We inflate problems, turning small obstacles into insurmountable mountains. But when we step back and look at them from a broader perspective, we often realize they're not as overwhelming as they first seemed. Take the story of Emma, a young professional who felt stuck in her career. She was constantly stressed about deadlines, office politics, and the pressure to climb the corporate ladder. One day, she decided to take a solo trip to a remote part of the world, far from the noise of her daily life. As she stood under a vast, star-filled sky, she had a moment of clarity. Her problems, which had felt so consuming back home, suddenly seemed small in comparison to the enormity of the universe. That shift in perspective didn't solve her challenges overnight, but it gave her the mental space to approach them with calm and clarity. This is the power of perspective. It doesn't erase our problems, but it helps us see them in their proper context. When we realize that most setbacks are temporary and often smaller than we imagine, we're better equipped to handle them with grace and resilience. So take a moment to reflect on your own life. What's a challenge you're facing right now? How might it look if you viewed it from a broader perspective, say 5 years from now? Or even 10, the Stoics would encourage you to zoom out and see your struggles as part of a much larger picture. Doing so doesn't diminish their importance, but it can help you approach them with a clearer, calmer mind. Perspective is like a mental telescope. It allows us to see beyond the immediate and recognize that even the toughest moments are just small dots on the canvas of our lives. And when we embrace this mindset, we find that setbacks lose their grip on us, leaving space for growth, resilience, and peace. Acceptance is the first step to overcoming any challenge. It's not about giving up or resigning to fate. It's about seeing reality for what it is and choosing to work with it rather than against it. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that resistance to what we cannot change only amplifies our suffering, while acceptance opens the door to clarity, focus, and effective action. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most practical teachers, put it plainly: don't seek for everything to happen as you wish, but wish for everything to happen as it does, and you will go on well. At its core, this is a call to embrace reality, no matter how uncomfortable or unwelcome it may seem. When we stop fighting against what's already happened, we free up the energy to focus on what we can do, our next steps, our mindset, and our growth. Think about a natural disaster like a hurricane. Once the storm hits, there's no undoing it. The damage is done, and the focus shifts to rebuilding and recovery. Acceptance doesn't mean we're happy about the destruction. It means we acknowledge it and start working toward solutions. The same principle applies to our personal setbacks. When we accept what's happened, whether it's a lost job, a failed relationship, or a missed opportunity, we stop wasting energy on denial or regret and start moving forward. Now take a moment to reflect on your own life. What's one thing you've been struggling to accept? Maybe it's a mistake you've made, a situation you can't change, or even a feeling you've been resisting. What would it look like to approach that thing with acceptance, not as a defeat, but as a starting point for growth? The beauty of acceptance is that it doesn't require us to like what's happened. It simply asks us to acknowledge it. And in that acknowledgement, we find the space to breathe, to think, and to act. When we stop fighting against the waves, we can start learning how to swim. That's the power of acceptance. It doesn't erase the storm, but it gives us the tools to navigate it with strength and grace. What would a wise person do in this situation? It's a question that cuts through the noise of fear, frustration, and uncertainty, guiding us toward clarity and purpose. For the Stoics, wisdom wasn't just about knowing facts or theories. It was about understanding how to apply that knowledge in the face of life's challenges. Wisdom, they believed, is the compass that helps us navigate setbacks with grace, making decisions rooted in reason rather than emotion. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, often reflected on the power of rational thought. He wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What he meant is that our mindset shapes our reality. When we approach adversity with wisdom, we're able to see beyond the immediate chaos and focus on what truly matters. Wisdom helps us separate what's within our control from what isn't, allowing us to respond with intention rather than react impulsively. Consider the story of a small business owner during the early days of the pandemic. With stores closed and uncertainty looming, many in her industry panicked, making hasty decisions out of fear. But instead of reacting impulsively, she took a step back. She sought advice from mentors, studied her options, and used her understanding of the market to pivot her business online. Her wisdom, her ability to pause, think critically, and act deliberately turned a potential disaster into an opportunity for growth. So, how can you cultivate this kind of wisdom in your own life? One powerful way is to seek out mentors or resources that expand your perspective. Whether it's a trusted advisor, a book that challenges your thinking, or even a quiet moment of reflection, wisdom often comes from stepping outside of ourselves and learning from others. Take a moment to reflect. Who in your life embodies the kind of wisdom you admire? What lessons could you learn from their experiences, and how might you apply those lessons the next time you face a setback? The Stoics remind us that wisdom isn't just about knowing, it's about doing. It's about taking the insights we gain and using them to navigate life's challenges with clarity, courage, and purpose. What can setbacks teach us about ourselves? This question lies at the heart of Stoic humility, a virtue that invites us to look inward even in the face of adversity. The Stoics believed that humility isn't about downplaying our strengths or achievements, it's about recognizing our limitations and being open to learning from them. When we approach setbacks with humility, we create space for growth, self-awareness, and ultimately, resilience. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity." for he is not permitted to prove himself. What he's saying is that challenges aren't just obstacles, they're opportunities to discover what we're truly made of. Humility allows us to see setbacks not as personal failures, but as moments to reflect, learn, and improve. It's about asking ourselves, what can I take away from this experience? How can I grow stronger, wiser, or more compassionate as a result? Consider the story of Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft. When he took over the company, it was struggling to keep up with the rapid changes in the tech industry. Instead of doubling down on old strategies or blaming external factors, Nadella embraced humility. He admitted that Microsoft needed to change its approach, and he actively sought feedback from employees and customers. This willingness to listen, adapt, and learn from mistakes helped transform Microsoft into one of the most innovative companies in the world. Nadella's humility didn't just save the company, it made it stronger. So how can humility help you navigate setbacks? Think about a time when you faced a challenge or made a mistake. Did you approach it with humility, or did you let pride or defensiveness take over? The Stoics would encourage you to see every setback as a chance to practice humility, to ask yourself what you can learn, how you can improve, and how you can use the experience to become a better version of yourself. Now take a moment to reflect. What's one recent setback where humility could have changed your perspective or approach? Maybe it was a disagreement with a loved one, a missed goal, or a moment where you felt stuck. How might humility have helped you see the situation differently? By embracing this mindset, you'll find that setbacks aren't just stumbling blocks. They're stepping stones to growth, resilience, and a deeper understanding of yourself. Preparation is the key to resilience. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They didn't wait for adversity to strike before figuring out how to handle it. Instead, they practiced mental rehearsal, imagining potential challenges and preparing their responses in advance. This wasn't about pessimism or expecting the worst. It was about building a mindset of readiness, so when difficulties arose, they could face them with calm and clarity. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, put it this way: it is not events that disturb people, but their judgments concerning them. What he's saying is that our reactions to setbacks are shaped by how we've prepared to face them. By anticipating challenges and rehearsing our responses, we train our minds to stay steady, even in the face of uncertainty. This kind of preparation isn't about predicting every possible outcome. It's about cultivating the mental flexibility to adapt when things don't go as planned. Think about a fire drill. When a fire alarm goes off, people don't panic because they've practiced what to do. They know the exits, they understand the process, and they move with purpose. The drill isn't about expecting a fire, it's about being ready just in case. The Stoics applied this same logic to life's challenges. By mentally rehearsing setbacks, they were able to respond with the same calm and focus as someone who's been through a fire drill. So, how can you start preparing for setbacks in your own life? Begin by identifying one area where you feel vulnerable or uncertain. Maybe it's a tough conversation you've been avoiding, a project that feels overwhelming, or even a personal fear you've been reluctant to face. Once you've identified it, take a few minutes to mentally rehearse how you'd handle it. What would you say or do? How would you stay grounded and focused? By practicing these responses in your mind, you're building the mental muscle to handle challenges with resilience. Preparation doesn't eliminate adversity, but it does give you the tools to meet it head-on. When you've already imagined the worst-case scenario and planned your response, setbacks lose their power to surprise or overwhelm you. Instead, they become opportunities to put your preparation into action and to prove to yourself just how strong and capable you truly are. How can we respond to setbacks with fairness and integrity? For the Stoics, justice wasn't just a lofty ideal, it was a practical virtue, a compass for navigating life's challenges with honor and balance. They believed that even in the face of adversity, we have a choice to act with fairness, to treat others with respect, and to uphold our principles, no matter how difficult the circumstances. Justice, in this sense, becomes a form of resilience, a way to rise above the chaos and stay true to who we are. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wrote, "What is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee." His words remind us that our actions ripple outward, affecting not just ourselves but the people around us. When we act with justice, even in tough times, we contribute to a greater sense of harmony and trust. It's not about ignoring our own pain or pretending everything is fine. It's about choosing to respond in a way that aligns with our values even when it's hard. Take the story of Nelson Mandela. After spending 27 years in prison, he emerged not with bitterness or a desire for revenge, but with a commitment to justice and reconciliation. He could have let his suffering define his actions, but instead he chose to lead with fairness, working to dismantle apartheid and build a more equitable society. His actions weren't just about personal healing, they were about creating a legacy of justice that continues to inspire millions today. So, what does this mean for us? Think about a setback you're facing right now. Maybe it's a conflict at work, a disagreement with a loved one, or a personal disappointment. How might justice guide your response? Could you choose to act with fairness, even when it's tempting to act out of frustration or anger? The Stoics remind us that justice isn't just about grand acts of heroism. It's about the small, everyday choices we make. It's about listening when we'd rather speak, offering kindness when we're hurting, and standing up for what's right, even when it costs us something. When we approach setbacks with justice, we don't just navigate the challenge, we transform it into an opportunity to live with integrity and purpose. So, take a moment to reflect. How can you bring justice into your current situation? What would it look like to act with fairness, not just for others, but for yourself? Because in the end, justice isn't just about doing what's right. It's about becoming who you're meant to be, even in the face of adversity. What can we let go of to overcome this setback? It's a question that cuts to the heart of Stoic philosophy, where simplicity isn't just a lifestyle choice, it's a mindset that helps us focus on what truly matters. The Stoics believed that by stripping away the unnecessary, we create space to see clearly, act decisively, and live intentionally. In a world filled with distractions and demands, simplicity becomes a powerful tool for resilience and growth. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most eloquent voices, wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." These words remind us that true wealth isn't about accumulating possessions or chasing endless desires. It's about finding contentment in what we already have. When we simplify our lives, we free ourselves from the clutter that often clouds our judgment and distracts us from our goals. Think about the minimalist lifestyle as a metaphor. A minimalist doesn't just declutter their home, they declutter their mind. By removing excess, they create a space that's calm, focused, and purposeful. The same principle applies to how we handle setbacks. When we simplify our approach, letting go of unnecessary worries, unrealistic expectations, or distractions, we're better equipped to tackle challenges with clarity and determination. Now consider your own life. What's one thing you could let go of to make room for what truly matters? Maybe it's a habit that no longer serves you, a goal that feels more like pressure than purpose, or even a mindset that's holding you back. The Stoics would encourage you to ask yourself, does this add value to my life? Does it align with my priorities? If the answer is no, it might be time to let it go. Simplicity isn't about deprivation, it's about liberation. When we shed the excess, we create space to focus on what's essential, our values, our relationships, and our growth. So take a moment to reflect. What's one thing you could simplify today? Whether it's your schedule, your environment, or even your thoughts, embracing simplicity might just be the key to overcoming your next setback with clarity and purpose. Visualizing challenges helps us face them with confidence. This practice, rooted in Stoic philosophy, is more than just wishful thinking. It's a deliberate exercise in mental preparation. By imagining potential setbacks and rehearsing our responses, we build a kind of inner resilience that allows us to meet adversity with calm and clarity. It's like creating a mental playbook, so when life throws us a curveball, we're ready to step up to the plate. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This captures the essence of visualization, a tool that helps us align our mindset with our actions. When we imagine ourselves navigating a difficult situation with poise and determination, we're not just daydreaming, we're training our minds to respond effectively when the moment arrives. Consider the story of Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian of all time. Long before he ever dove into the pool, Phelps spent hours visualizing his races. He didn't just imagine winning, he pictured every possible scenario: what he'd do if his goggles filled with water, how he'd react if he fell behind, and how he'd maintain focus under pressure. This mental rehearsal wasn't about avoiding challenges, it was about preparing to face them head-on. And when those challenges did arise, as they inevitably did, Phelps was ready. His ability to visualize success, even in the face of setbacks, played a key role in his unparalleled achievements. So, how can you apply this practice to your own life? Take a moment to think about a challenge you're currently facing, whether it's a tough conversation, an upcoming presentation, or a personal goal that feels out of reach. Close your eyes and imagine yourself navigating that situation with confidence. What steps would you take? How would you stay calm and focused? By visualizing the process, not just the outcome, you're equipping yourself with the mental tools to handle whatever comes your way. Visualization isn't about predicting the future or guaranteeing success, it's about building the resilience to face uncertainty with courage. When we prepare our minds for adversity, we're not just hoping for the best, we're ready for anything. And that readiness, more than anything else, is what turns obstacles into opportunities. How can we respond to setbacks with balance and moderation? It's a question that strikes at the heart of one of Stoicism's most practical virtues, temperance. The Stoics didn't see temperance as a restriction or a denial of emotions. It was a tool for maintaining clarity and control, even in the face of life's storms. It's about finding that middle ground between overreacting and shutting down, so we can face challenges with a steady hand and a clear mind. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, captured this idea perfectly when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. His words remind us that temperance isn't about suppressing our emotions or pretending everything is fine. It's about acknowledging what we feel while choosing not to let those feelings dictate our actions. In other words, it's about responding, not reacting. Think of a storm at sea. The waves might crash against the boat, the wind might howl, and the rain might pour down relentlessly. But a skilled captain doesn't fight the storm or try to control it. Instead, they adjust the sails, steady the rudder, and focus on navigating through it. Temperance works in much the same way. It's not about avoiding the storm or pretending it's not there, it's about staying steady, even when the waves are high. So, how can you practice temperance in your own life? Start by noticing how you react to setbacks. Do you tend to overreact, letting frustration or fear take the wheel? Or do you shut down, avoiding the challenge altogether? Temperance invites you to find a third way, a balanced approach where you acknowledge your emotions without letting them overwhelm you. Here's a simple exercise to try. The next time you face a setback, pause for a moment, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what's within my control right now? Then focus on that, whether it's a small step forward, a moment of reflection, or simply staying present. Temperance helps you act with intention, not impulse. The beauty of temperance is that it doesn't just help us navigate setbacks, it transforms them into opportunities for growth. When we respond with balance and moderation, we show ourselves and the world that even in the midst of chaos, we can stay steady. And that steadiness, more than anything else, is what turns challenges into triumphs. What keeps you going when things get tough? For the Stoics, the answer lies in purpose, a guiding force that gives meaning to our struggles and fuels our resilience. They believe that when we have a clear sense of why we're doing what we're doing, setbacks become not just obstacles to endure, but steps on a larger journey. Purpose isn't just a nice-to-have, it's the foundation of enduring strength and determination. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." His words remind us that without a sense of direction, we're at the mercy of life's storms. But when we anchor ourselves in purpose, we can navigate even the roughest seas with focus and resolve. Purpose gives us a reason to keep moving forward, even when the path is steep and the challenges feel insurmountable. Consider the story of Malala Yousafzai, the young activist who survived an assassination attempt for advocating girls' education. What kept her going after such a traumatic experience? It wasn't just survival, it was her unwavering sense of purpose. She knew her mission was bigger than herself, and that clarity gave her the strength to continue her fight, even in the face of unimaginable adversity. Her purpose became a source of resilience, turning a personal setback into a global movement for change. So, what's your purpose? What's the deeper reason behind the goals you're pursuing or the challenges you're facing? Take a moment to reflect on this. Is it to provide for your family, to make a difference in your community, or to grow into the best version of yourself? The Stoics would encourage you to connect with that sense of purpose, not just as a distant goal, but as a daily source of motivation and strength. Purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing, it simply needs to resonate with you. Whether it's raising your children with love, excelling in your career, or contributing to a cause you care about, your purpose is what gives your efforts meaning. And when you align your actions with that deeper why, setbacks lose their power to derail you. Instead, they become part of a larger story, one where every challenge is a chapter in your growth and every step forward is a testament to your resilience. Adaptability is the key to overcoming any obstacle. Life rarely goes exactly as planned, and the Stoics knew this better than anyone. They believed that the ability to adjust, to bend without breaking, was one of the most important skills we could cultivate. Flexibility, in their view, wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a mark of strength. When we embrace adaptability, we're not just surviving setbacks, we're thriving through them. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, put it this way: "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that while we can't always control the circumstances we face, we can control how we respond to them. Adaptability is about recognizing when a situation calls for a change in direction and having the courage to pivot. It's not about giving up on our goals, but about finding new ways to achieve them. Think of a tree in a storm. A rigid tree might snap under the force of the wind, but a flexible one bends and sways, allowing it to withstand even the fiercest gales. The tree doesn't fight the storm, it adapts to it, and when the storm passes, it stands tall once again, stronger for having weathered the challenge. This is the essence of adaptability, the ability to adjust, to flow with the circumstances, and to emerge intact on the other side. Now consider your own life. What's a situation where you felt stuck or resistant to change? Maybe it's a career shift, a relationship challenge, or even a personal habit you've been struggling to break. How might a more adaptable approach help you navigate that situation? The Stoics would encourage you to see flexibility not as a compromise but as a tool for growth. Here's a practical exercise to try. Identify one area in your life where you could practice more adaptability. It might be as simple as trying a new approach to a recurring problem or being open to feedback that challenges your perspective. By taking small steps to embrace flexibility, you'll build the resilience to handle whatever comes your way. Adaptability isn't about abandoning your principles or losing sight of your goals. It's about finding new ways to move forward, even when the path ahead isn't what you expected. And in that process, you'll discover a kind of strength that comes not from rigidity, but from the ability to bend, to adjust, and to grow. How can we remain true to our values when life tests us? This question lies at the heart of Stoic integrity, a virtue that goes beyond honesty or fairness. It's about aligning our actions with our deepest principles, no matter the circumstances. For the Stoics, integrity wasn't just a moral ideal, it was a practical tool for navigating setbacks with clarity and purpose. When we act with integrity, we're not just doing what's right, we're staying true to who we are, even when the path is difficult. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, reflected on this idea when he wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." His words remind us that integrity isn't about debating ethics or waiting for the perfect moment to act. It's about embodying our values in every decision, every action, and every challenge we face. When we commit to this kind of moral consistency, we build a foundation of trust not just with others but with ourselves. Consider the story of Rosa Parks, whose quiet act of integrity sparked a movement. When she refused to give up her seat on a segregated bus, she wasn't just standing up for herself, she was standing up for justice, equality, and the dignity of every person. Her choice wasn't easy, it came with real risks and consequences, but by staying true to her values, she transformed a moment of adversity into a powerful catalyst for change. Now think about your own life. What are the values that guide you? Is it honesty, compassion, resilience, or something else entirely? And how do those values shape the way you respond to challenges? The Stoics would encourage you to see integrity not as a lofty ideal, but as a daily practice, a way of living that keeps you grounded, even when the world feels uncertain. Here's a simple exercise to try. Take a moment to write down your core values, then reflect on a recent setback or challenge. How did your values influence your response? Were there moments when you stayed true to them, even when it was hard? By connecting your actions to your values, you'll find that integrity becomes more than just a principle. It becomes a source of strength and clarity. Integrity, at its core, is about being the same person in the storm as you are in the sunshine. It's about knowing who you are and what you stand for, and letting that knowledge guide you through life's toughest moments. And when you live with that kind of consistency, you'll find that setbacks don't just test you, they reveal the best in you. What small step can you take today to overcome this setback? It's a question that might seem simple, but its power lies in its ability to break down overwhelming challenges into manageable pieces. The Stoics understood the importance of small wins, those seemingly minor victories that, when accumulated, create momentum and build confidence. They believed that progress, no matter how incremental, is still progress, and celebrating these small wins isn't just about patting yourself on the back. It's about recognizing that every step forward, no matter how small, is a step toward resilience and growth. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, captured this idea beautifully when he wrote, "It does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop." His words remind us that success isn't always about grand gestures or dramatic breakthroughs. Sometimes it's about the quiet, steady effort we put in day after day. Small wins are the building blocks of larger achievements, and they help us stay motivated even when the finish line feels far away. Think about running a marathon. No one starts by running 26 miles on their first day. Instead, they begin with a single mile, then 2, then 5. Each small run builds endurance, confidence, and skill. Over time, these incremental gains add up, transforming what once seemed impossible into something achievable. The same principle applies to overcoming setbacks. When we focus on the small, actionable steps we can take today, we create a foundation for long-term success. Now, consider your own life. What's one small win you can achieve today? Maybe it's sending that email you've been avoiding, taking 10 minutes to meditate, or simply making a list of your priorities. The key is to start small and build from there. Each small win reinforces your belief in your ability to overcome challenges, creating a positive cycle of progress and confidence. So, take a moment to reflect. What's one small step you can take right now to move forward? It doesn't have to be monumental, it just has to be meaningful. Because when you celebrate the small wins, you're not just marking progress, you're cultivating the resilience and determination to keep going, no matter what obstacles come your way. Letting go is the first step to moving forward. It's a simple idea, but one that can feel incredibly difficult in practice. The Stoics understood this struggle deeply. They believed that much of our suffering comes from trying to control things that are beyond our power. By learning to release our grip on what we can't change, we free ourselves from unnecessary frustration and find a deeper sense of peace. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most practical teachers, put it this way: freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. What he's saying is that true freedom comes from accepting what we cannot change and focusing our energy on what we can influence. This isn't about giving up or resigning to fate, it's about reclaiming our power to act with intention and clarity. Imagine a river flowing steadily downstream. You can't stop its current or change its course, but you can choose how you interact with it. You might try to swim against the current, exhausting yourself in the process, or you could let the river carry you, using its flow to guide your journey. Letting go is like that. It's about recognizing when to stop fighting against the current and start working with it. Now, take a moment to reflect. What's one thing in your life that feels out of your control? Maybe it's a situation at work, a relationship dynamic, or even a personal fear you've been holding on to. What would it look like to release your grip on that thing, even just a little? The Stoics would remind you that letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop letting the uncontrollable dictate your peace. This practice isn't easy, especially when the stakes feel high. But the more you practice letting go, the more you'll discover a kind of freedom that no circumstance can take away. It's not about ignoring the challenge. It's about choosing where to focus your energy so you can move forward with clarity and purpose. So, what's one thing you're ready to release today? How can giving to others help us overcome our own struggles? It's a question that might seem counterintuitive at first. After all, when we're facing setbacks, our instinct is often to turn inward, to focus on our own pain or frustration. But the Stoics saw generosity as a powerful antidote to adversity. By shifting our focus from ourselves to others, we not only lighten our own burdens but also find a deeper sense of purpose and connection. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What we do for others is the rent we pay for our room on this earth." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that generosity isn't just a nice thing to do. It's a fundamental part of living a meaningful life. When we give to others, whether it's our time, our resources, or simply our attention, we're reminded that our struggles are just one part of a much larger tapestry. Generosity helps us see beyond our own challenges and recognize the shared humanity that connects us all. Consider the story of a woman who, after losing her job, decided to volunteer at a local food bank. At first, she felt overwhelmed by her own situation, unsure of what her next steps would be. but as she spent time helping others, something shifted. She found joy in the simple act of giving, and that joy gave her the strength to keep moving forward. Her setbacks didn't disappear, but they no longer felt insurmountable. By focusing on the needs of others, she discovered a sense of purpose that carried her through a difficult time. So, what's one act of generosity you can perform today? It doesn't have to be grand or life-changing. It could be as simple as offering a kind word to a stranger, volunteering your time, or even just listening to someone who needs to be heard. The Stoics would remind us that generosity isn't just about what we give. It's about the mindset it cultivates. When we give freely, we're not just helping others, we're reminding ourselves of the good we're capable of, even in the midst of our own struggles. Generosity, at its core, is a form of resilience. It's a way of saying, I may be facing challenges, but I still have something to offer. And in that offering, we find a strength that goes beyond our own circumstances, a strength that comes from knowing we're part of something bigger than ourselves. So take a moment to reflect, how can you give today? Because sometimes the best way to overcome a setback is to help someone else overcome theirs. Can laughter really help us face our challenges? It might sound surprising, but humor has long been a tool in the Stoic toolkit for navigating life's ups and downs. The Stoics didn't see laughter as frivolous or dismissive. They saw it as a way to lighten the weight of setbacks, offering perspective and relief when things feel overwhelming. Humor, in their view, isn't about ignoring the seriousness of a situation. It's about finding a way to rise above it, even if just for a moment. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most influential voices, wrote, "A jest is often the best way to make a point." His words remind us that humor can be more than just a release. It can be a way to reframe our struggles, to see them from a new angle. When we laugh at our predicaments, we're not dismissing their importance. We're reminding ourselves that they don't have to define us. Humor becomes a way to reclaim control, to say, this is hard, but I'm still here and I can still find joy. Take the story of a man who lost his job unexpectedly. At first, he felt defeated, unsure of what to do next, but instead of dwelling on the setback, he decided to make light of it. He started a blog where he shared humorous stories about his job search, poking fun at awkward interviews and failed applications. What began as a way to cope quickly gained a following, and soon his blog turned into a new career. By using humor to navigate his challenges, he not only found relief but also created something meaningful out of a difficult situation. So, what's something in your own life that feels heavy right now? Is there a way to find humor in it, even if it's just a small moment of levity? Maybe it's laughing at a mistake you've made, finding irony in a tough situation, or simply sharing a funny story with a friend. The Stoics would encourage you to see humor not as a distraction, but as a tool for resilience, a way to remind yourself that even in the midst of struggle, there's still room for lightness and joy. Humor doesn't erase our problems, but it does help us carry them with a little more ease. When we can laugh, even in the face of adversity, we're not just surviving, we're thriving. So, take a moment today to find something to smile about, because sometimes the best way to face a challenge is to laugh your way through it. As we wrap up our journey through Stoic principles, let's take a moment to revisit the core ideas that can help turn setbacks into triumphs. At the heart of Stoicism lies the belief that adversity isn't something to fear or avoid, it's an opportunity to grow, to discover our inner strength, and to refine our character. By embracing challenges with bravery and resolve, we don't just endure them, we transform them into stepping stones for progress. We've explored the power of perspective, learning to see obstacles not as roadblocks but as invitations to grow. We've practiced the art of focusing on what we can control, letting go of what we can't, and finding peace in that distinction. we've seen how small, consistent efforts, whether it's through reflection, gratitude, or preparation, can build resilience over time. And we've learned that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward despite it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action." What stands in the way becomes the way. These words capture the essence of Stoic wisdom. Every challenge, every setback is a chance to prove our strength, to refine our mindset, and to become the best version of ourselves. Adversity isn't the enemy, it's the teacher. And when we approach it with the right mindset, we unlock a kind of resilience that can carry us through even the toughest moments. Now it's your turn. Reflect on the principles we've discussed today. How can you apply them to your own life? What's one setback you're facing right now? And how might you reframe it as an opportunity for growth? Remember, this isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Small steps taken consistently can lead to profound change over time. Before we go, I'd love to hear from you. How has Stoic philosophy helped you navigate life's challenges? Or what's one principle you're excited to put into practice? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read everyone. And if you found value in today's video, consider subscribing for more Stoic wisdom to help you live with courage, clarity, and purpose. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Remember, every setback is a setup for a comeback. Keep moving forward one step at a time.